Second guttural piel. Now we'll turn to the second gutturals, and we're going to look at the piel and the puel. Now, why are we going to look at those two? Well, it makes some sense if you think about it for a moment. If these are our three radicals, our three roots, the piel and puel are marked by doubling of the second radical, right? With the dagesh forte. Now, what happens if the second radical is a guttural? We can't double a guttural or resh, so we're going to have problems, right? And what is one of the things that can happen? You can get, if you remember, compensatory lengthening on the previous vowel. So whatever vowel is here lengthens to compensate for the fact you can't lengthen this. You can't double, therefore this lengthens. Well, in fact, that is what happens. Here we have a verb, barech, berach, in the piel, and it has a resh in the second position. Resh can't double, and so the hidik that's normally here, if you look at your paradigm, it's always good to have your paradigms open. Strong paradigm for the perfect, you'll see that it has pakade. So the hidik in the first root vowel hidik cannot, or this cannot double, so the first root vowel, the hidik, lengthens to compensate to its tzere. So it stays within the IE type vowel. Hidik lengthens to tzere. Over here, the resh, of course, can't double. And so what's normally here is a patach. You can check your tables. And the patach will lengthen to a corresponding A vowel, the longer one, the kametz. So that's what happens, and that's predictable. Down here, remember I said that the patach marks the imperative. Of course, it's here as well, like in the strong verbs. I mean, the patach is throughout here, but it's especially notable in the imperative. At least I find it a useful marker for the imperative in the piel. So it too is going to lengthen to the kametz. So be aware of that. If you see a kametz there and you think it's an imperative, look to see if you have a middle radical that is guttural or resh. And then, in fact, you may have a piel imperative. Okay. So, what am I saying here? The second guttural cannot double. That's the mark of the piel. Or doubling is the mark of the piel. If it can't double, then you got some troubles. Now, in fact, two things can happen. The first possibility is what I just said, compensatory lengthening. And this happens if you have aleph or resh. Aleph or resh in the second position, which is what we have here, a resh. If you had aleph there, you get the same behavior. And hidik goes to tzere, patach goes to kametz. So this is what happens in the perfect, and this is what happens in the prefix forms. The other possibility is this here, and that is implied doubling. And it occurs when you have a hey, a chet, or an ayin in the middle. So if you have an ayin, in the middle radical, like here, then what you'll get is implied doubling, which basically means nothing happens. We just imply that it is doubling. Now, Ross gives an example in his book, in the text itself, as opposed to the tables at the back. And his example is ba'ar. Now, this is the Cal form I'm writing. If it even exists in the Cal, I don't know. I didn't look it up. Ba'ar means to consume or to kindle, as in to light a fire. Now, if you put this into the piel, if we ignore the fact that we have a ayin there, what we would expect is this. We have the hidik, we have the tzere, and we have our last consonant. So like pakade, we have be'er. Now we want to double this, but we can't because it's a guttural. And if it's an ayin, or a chet or he, then it'll probably follow this rule, which is implied doubling, which means you don't do anything else. You just don't double it. It's implied that it's doubling, but you don't change this. This does not lengthen to compensate. So that's another possibility. Implied doubling or compensatory lengthening. And here I'm simply comparing the strong and the second guttural for the perfect and the imperfect. Here we have pakade. This is our base form, the strong verb. And And you can see a hidik there. That's what you normally have with a dagesh forte in the second radical. There's no dagesh forte here. You can't put a dagesh forte in the reish. Can't double. And so you get compensatory lengthening. This is the pattern 1, the pattern where that happens if you have reish or aleph. Likewise, you can't have a sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. Here is the strong verb, yifaked. So you have doubling here, and here's your patach. Okay? You can't double, and so your patach lengthens to a kametz. So vowels will tend to lengthen within their vowel type. Short A to long A, short I to a long IE vowel. Now one thing to note here is that you've got this patach here rather than tsere. That's just because this particular verb has the theme vowel patach in the perfect. And barach, meaning to bless, is the verb that Ross chose for his tables at the back of the book. In his textbook, he has a verb that does in fact have a tsere here, and it's ma'an, meaning to refuse, and in the piel, it looks like this. May, if I can squeeze it in here, me'ain, okay? So you can see the compensatory lengthening, and you see the tsere, which is what you would expect in the strong verb. And so it's there. And of course, it is the aleph. So aleph and resh are the ones that have compensatory lengthening. So what do you need to know about second gutturals in the piel? You can't double the middle radical, and so you either have compensatory lengthening or you have implied doubling, meaning you don't put the dagesh in the second radical, but you just don't do anything. Don't do anything else, that is.